You ever say something and immediately regret it? Like the words leave your mouth and your brain just goes, "Why did I do that?" Yeah, me too. A lot. Today, we're talking about times you should always keep your mouth shut. Some will save you from embarrassment, some from full-blown disaster, and a few might just save your life. Let's go. 1. When someone is venting and doesn't want advice. Let me tell you something that might make a few people uncomfortable. Most of us are terrible listeners. We don't actually listen. We wait for our turn to talk. We hear someone venting about their struggles, and instead of sitting in that moment with them, we jump straight into fix-it mode. And here's the brutal truth. Most people don't want advice. They just want to be heard. I get it. You mean well. You see someone hurting and you want to help. You think, if I just tell them the right thing, they'll feel better. But that's not how it works. When someone is deep in frustration, sadness or stress, their brain isn't in solution mode. They're overwhelmed. They're processing emotions. And when you jump in with advice too soon, it can feel dismissive, like you're minimizing what they're going through. Imagine someone just lost their job. They're spiraling, panicking about bills, their future, their self-worth. And the first thing they hear is, maybe this is an opportunity to follow your passion. You should see this as a fresh start. Everything happens for a reason. It might sound encouraging, but to the person struggling, it can feel like you're brushing off their very real fears. Not every problem needs a solution in the moment. Sometimes people just need space to process. Here's the uncomfortable part. A lot of the time, we don't give advice because they need it. We give advice because we need to feel helpful. We like to think of ourselves as wise, as problem solvers, as someone with the answers. But when we rush to give advice, what we're really doing is shifting the focus away from them and onto ourselves. Because truly listening to someone's pain, without fixing, without offering solutions, without making it about us, is hard. It's uncomfortable to sit with someone in their frustration or sadness. It's awkward, but it's also necessary. I remember a time when my friend Jake went through a brutal breakup. He was wrecked, angry, heartbroken, questioning everything. And me, thinking I was a genius, said, "Dude, there are plenty of fish in the sea." He just stared at me, dead inside, and said, "I don't want another fish. I wanted her." That hit me like a truck. I thought I was being helpful, but really, I was just saying what I thought would make the moment easier. Instead of sitting with his pain, I was trying to bypass it with a cliché. That was the moment I realized. People don't want quick fixes. They want to feel understood. Next time someone vents to you, instead of immediately jumping in with a solution, try asking, "Do you want advice or do you just need to vent?" This one sentence changes everything. It gives them control over the conversation. It shows that you respect their emotions enough to let them decide what they need. Most of the time, people will say, "I just need to vent." And in that moment, your job isn't to be a problem solver. It's to listen, to acknowledge, to let them feel heard. We live in a world where everyone wants to talk, but very few people know how to listen. The most powerful conversations don't come from the words we say. They come from the moments of silence where someone feels truly understood. So the next time a friend or loved one is venting, resist the urge to fix it. Just listen. Let them talk. Let them feel heard. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Two, when you know you're about to say something petty. All right, let's be honest. Being petty feels amazing. It's like junk food for the soul, completely unhealthy, but oh so satisfying in the moment. You know that feeling when someone says something just dumb enough, just annoying enough, that you have the perfect response locked and loaded. You can feel it in your throat. It's ready to go. And if you say it, you're about to hit them with a comeback so sharp it could slice through steel. But here's the thing. 99% of the time, pettiness is a trap. Let's not lie to ourselves. Being petty feels good. That little ego boost, that smug satisfaction, it's a rush. It makes us feel clever, powerful, untouchable. But then comes the aftermath. Because once the moment passes, you start wondering, did I actually need to say that? Did I just make things worse? Was that really worth it? And let's not forget, pettiness has a price. Maybe it's a friend side-eyeing you differently. Maybe it's a coworker now subtly making your life harder. Maybe it's your partner replaying what you said and realizing, damn, that actually hurt. Petty doesn't fix things, it escalates. It's like lighting a match for fun and realizing you just set the whole house on fire. I learned this the hard way. A while back, I was in an argument with a friend about something stupid. One of those pointless, ego-driven back and forths where neither of us was really listening. At one point, they hit me with, "Wow, you always think you're right." And I had the perfect comeback ready. You know the kind, the one that would expose every flaw, every insecurity they had ever confided in me. It would have destroyed them. I paused, took a breath, then said it anyway. And you know what happened? They didn't even argue back. They just got quiet. That's when it hit me. I didn't win. I just made them feel small. And once you cross that line, you can't take it back. We stopped talking for months after that, all because I couldn't keep my mouth shut for 5 extra seconds. Here's the part most people won't admit. Pettiness isn't about being right. It's about power. We get petty when we feel disrespected. We feel unheard. We feel like we're losing control. And instead of handling it like adults, we go for the low blow, because hurting them feels easier than dealing with our own feelings. But here's the kicker. Petty people rarely look powerful. They just look insecure. So what do you do when you feel the petty demon rising? Pause. If you're about to say something just to prove a point, ask yourself, what's my goal here? To fix the problem or to make them feel stupid? Play it out. Imagine the fallout. Will this actually solve anything, or will it just lead to more drama? Choose silence over regret. Some of the best clapbacks are the ones you never say. If you really want to win, walk away knowing you had the ammo and chose not to use it. That's real power. Being petty is easy. Staying silent when you could destroy someone, that takes real strength. So the next time you feel that perfect cutting remark sitting on your tongue, remember this. The strongest people aren't the ones who win the argument. They're the ones who don't need to. 3. When you're about to spill someone else's secret. Let's be honest. Secrets are currency. Knowing something that other people don't gives you power. It makes you feel important, in the loop, maybe even a little superior. And let's not pretend. Spilling tea is fun. There's a reason gossip spreads like wildfire. It's entertaining, it's bonding, it makes conversations more interesting. And if we're being completely real, sometimes it just slips out. You're mid-conversation, things are getting juicy, and suddenly your brain goes, "Ooh, should I tell them? Just a little, just a hint." Then, before you know it, boom, you said too much. And in that moment, you feel powerful. But here's the part people don't talk about. Spilling someone else's secret is one of the fastest ways to lose respect. Here's the controversial part. Most of us are hypocrites about secrets. We'll be the first ones to say, "I hate people who can't keep their mouths shut." But then someone says, "Hey, don't tell anyone, but..." And suddenly we're fighting demons trying to hold it in. We tell ourselves, "It's not a big deal. I'm only telling this one person. They won't care if this gets out." But let's flip it. Imagine you told a friend something personal, something raw, something you trusted them with, and the next day, someone else casually brings it up. That feeling in your gut, that sting of betrayal. Yeah, that's exactly what you risk making someone else feel. There was a time when I messed up, big time. A close friend confided in me about something serious. I mean life-changing serious. They swore me to secrecy, and I meant to keep it. But a few weeks later, I was with another friend who also knew them, and the topic sort of came up. I thought, well, they'll probably find out eventually. Plus, I trust this person. So I said one sentence. Just a small, yeah, I heard about that too. And that's all it took. Like a domino effect, the information spread faster than I could control it. And guess what? It got back to my friend. The look on their face when they realized it was me. That was the day I learned that breaking trust doesn't make you powerful. It makes you replaceable. People remember who they can and can't trust. Once you spill a secret, even just once, you get labeled. You become that person, the one who can't be trusted. And you might not notice it at first, but over time, people start telling you less and less. You stop getting included in the deep conversations. Your friendships become more surface level. Because here's the thing, nobody wants to be the next victim of your loose lips. So what do you do when you're sitting on a secret that's burning a hole in your mouth? Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it to seem important? Is it to stir the pot? Is it just because I'm bored? If the answer isn't because I have permission, then don't do it. Think about the fallout. How would I feel if this were my secret? Will this damage the trust someone has in me? Am I willing to lose this friendship over a 5-second conversation? Redirect the conversation. If someone is pressing you for details, hit them with, "That's not my story to tell." If you're feeling tempted, switch topics before you say something you can't take back. There are two kinds of people in the world, those you can confide in, and those you talk about when they're not around. Every time you're trusted with a secret, you're being handed something valuable. You can protect it and prove you're reliable, or you can fumble it and show people they should never trust you again. So before you spill something that isn't yours to share, remember this. Being known as trustworthy is worth more than 5 minutes of gossip. 4. When you have no idea what you're talking about, let's be real, nobody wants to look stupid. That's why instead of admitting, "I don't know," most of us just fake it. We throw in some buzzwords, nod confidently, and pray nobody asks follow-up questions. And sometimes it works, but other times we crash and burn in glorious, humiliating fashion. We live in a world where everyone wants to be an expert on everything. Social media has made it worse. People read one headline, one out-of-context tweet, or watch a 30-second video, and suddenly they're political analysts, financial advisors, and medical professionals all in one. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Talking like you know something when you don't isn't intelligence, it's ego. Have you ever been in a conversation where people are discussing something complex, maybe economics, history, or science, and instead of admitting you have no clue, you just play along? You nod, throw in the occasional, "Yeah, totally," maybe even mumble, "That's crazy," hoping nobody notices you're in deep, deep water. We all do it. But here's where it gets dangerous, when we start believing our own nonsense. Because once you confidently spew a fact that's actually wrong, you set off a chain reaction. Someone trusts you and repeats it. Someone else hears it and spreads it further. Before you know it, misinformation is running wild. And congratulations, you just became part of the reason why half the internet thinks the moon landing was fake and birds aren't real. I learned this lesson the hard way. A few years ago, I was at a dinner with some very smart people, like the kind of people who casually drop things like, "Well, in my neuroscience research," while you're just trying to finish your fries. At one point, the topic of Bitcoin came up. Now, I had zero understanding of Bitcoin, other than the fact that it was internet money. But instead of admitting that, I confidently said, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is basically just a decentralized algorithm that self-regulates supply through blockchain encryption. I had no idea what that meant. I just threw together words I'd heard on Twitter. One of the guys turned to me and said, "Oh, interesting. So do you think proof of work is a sustainable model long term?" I blacked out. I mumbled something about the economy, changed the subject, and spent the next 2 weeks hoping nobody remembered my nonsense. The worst part, if I had just said, "I actually don't know much about that. Tell me more," I probably would have learned something instead of looking like a fool. Here's the controversial part. We think admitting ignorance makes us look weak. We're afraid people will judge us, assume we're dumb, or take us less seriously. But in reality, pretending to know things you don't makes you look way worse. People respect honesty more than false confidence, and saying, "I don't know, but I'd love to learn," makes you seem curious, open-minded, and actually intelligent. So next time you're tempted to bluff your way through a conversation, try this instead. Be honest. Say, "I don't actually know much about that. Tell me more." Smart people respect curiosity. Ask questions. Instead of faking knowledge, flip the script. How does that work? What's your take on it? People love explaining things. Recognize the power of silence. Sometimes the smartest thing you can say is nothing. Socrates, the literal father of Western philosophy, famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." Let that sink in. The more you talk about things you don't understand, the dumber you sound. But the more you listen, the smarter you become. So next time you're tempted to ramble about something you don't actually understand, pause, breathe, and maybe, just maybe, shut up and learn. 5. When you're outnumbered in an argument. Let's get one thing straight. Being right doesn't mean you'll win. We've all been there. You're in a conversation, you make a valid point, and suddenly you realize, oh no, you're outnumbered. It's not just one person disagreeing with you, it's the whole group. And now, instead of a fair discussion, it's turning into a full-blown interrogation. Wait, you actually believe that? How can you even say that with a straight face? Nah, that's wild. Someone explain to them why they're wrong. You feel the heat. Your heart starts pounding. And you're faced with a choice. Stand your ground and fight everyone at once. Stay quiet and let them think they won. Now, the instinct. Option 1. Defend yourself. Throw counter-arguments. Get louder if they get louder. But here's the harsh truth. You're not in a debate anymore. You're in a survival game. And in most cases, the smartest move is silence. When it's 1 against 1, you can have a fair conversation. But when it's 1 against 5, 6, or more, it's no longer about facts. It's about dominance. People in groups stop listening. They stop thinking critically. They're not discussing ideas anymore. They're backing each other up, like a verbal mosh pit. And no matter how solid your logic is, you won't convince them. Why? Because now it's about ego. Nobody in a group wants to be the first one to say, "You know what? Maybe you have a point." That would mean betraying their side. So instead, they double down. They get louder, stronger, and more aggressive. And even if you're right, you'll still come out looking like the odd one. I learned this the hard way at a family gathering. I was sitting with my relatives minding my business when someone brought up a super controversial topic, one that I happened to have a different opinion on. Now, I wasn't trying to start a fight, but I made one small counterpoint. One. And that was all it took. Before I knew it, 5 people were coming at me at once. They were cutting me off, dismissing my points, laughing at my examples. I wasn't in a discussion anymore. I was in a firing squad. And let me tell you, I wasn't losing because I was wrong. I was losing because I was alone. At one point I realized nobody was listening. Nobody cared about my perspective. They just wanted to win as a group. So instead of wasting my energy, I just stopped. I leaned back, took a sip of my drink, and let them talk themselves out. And guess what happened? The moment I stopped engaging, they lost interest. The energy died down, and a few minutes later, the conversation moved on. That's when I realized sometimes silence is more powerful than words. When you're outnumbered, arguing harder won't make people listen. It will just make them defensive. But staying silent, that does three things. It protects your energy. Instead of wasting breath on people who don't want a real discussion, you conserve your energy for conversations that actually matter. It makes you look more confident. When you refuse to fight back just for the sake of it, you show that you don't need the group's approval. That's power. It forces people to think. When you walk away from a debate without backing down, people are left to sit with your words. And sometimes that's what actually gets them thinking. Now, does this mean you should never stand up for what you believe? But you have to pick your battles strategically. Speak up when you're in a balanced debate where people actually want to listen. The argument could lead to real change. You're defending someone who can't defend themselves. Stay silent when the group is just trying to gang up on you. The argument won't change anything, and it's just ego-driven. The goal isn't discussion, it's humiliation. Because sometimes the best way to win is to let people argue with themselves. The world tells us that power comes from speaking louder, arguing harder, and always proving we're right. But real strength, it's knowing when to walk away. So next time you find yourself outnumbered in an argument, remember this: you don't have to win every fight. You just have to know which ones are worth your breath. Six, when someone is looking for a fight. Some people do not want a discussion. They do not want to exchange ideas, hear a different perspective, or even resolve an issue. They want a fight. You have seen it before. Maybe it was an argument that started out of nowhere, a passive-aggressive comment meant to provoke you, or a person who just would not let something go, no matter how much you tried to de-escalate. The truth is, some people are addicted to conflict. It gives them a sense of control, a rush of validation, or even just something to do when they are bored. And if you take the bait, you are now part of their game. But here is the hard truth: you do not have to play. When someone is actively looking for a fight, they are not interested in logic, reason, or fairness. They are looking for an emotional reaction. They want you to get defensive, to snap back, to engage in a back and forth where they can twist your words and push your buttons. It is not about proving a point. It is about dragging you into their storm. And the moment you engage, you give them exactly what they want. Suddenly, you are in a conversation you did not ask for, raising your voice over something you do not even care about, and wasting your time on someone who is not even arguing in good faith. At that point, it is no longer about right or wrong. It is about who can escalate the situation the most. And no matter how well you argue, no matter how logical you are, you will not win, because they are not playing by the same rules. There was a time when I thought every attack needed a response. If someone came at me, I had to stand my ground. I had to defend myself. Then one day, I realized that some battles are designed to be unwinnable. I was at a gathering when someone, let's call him Mark, started taking little jabs at me. At first, I ignored it. But then the comments got more personal. You always act like you are smarter than everyone. Oh, here we go. Let me guess. You have an opinion on this too? You just can't stand being wrong, can you? I could feel myself tensing up. The old me would have snapped back. But then I stopped. I looked at Mark. I looked around the room, and I realized something. He wanted a reaction. He wanted a fight. So instead of engaging, I did something completely unexpected. I paused, smiled, took a sip of my drink, and walked away. And just like that, the energy disappeared. Because without me feeding into it, he was just a guy talking to himself. That was the moment I understood that silence can be the most powerful response of all. Most of the time, when someone is aggressively looking for an argument, it is not about you, it is about them. People who start unnecessary fights are usually dealing with something internal. Maybe they are frustrated with their own life and taking it out on you. Maybe they need to feel superior to someone to boost their ego. Maybe they are just bored and causing drama is their version of entertainment. Either way, engaging in their fight does not fix the real problem. It just makes you a part of their chaos. And if you react emotionally, they get to shift the blame onto you. Now, instead of dealing with their own issues, they can say, "See? You are the problem." That is why refusing to engage is not weakness, it is emotional intelligence. When someone is trying to provoke you, you have two choices. You can take the bait and argue, giving them the reaction they are looking for. You can stay silent and refuse to let them drag you down with them. And here is the thing. Nothing frustrates a toxic person more than being ignored. If they cannot get a rise out of you, they lose. So next time someone is trying to start a fight, try this. Pause before responding. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, do I even care about this argument? Decide if it is worth it. If the answer is no, do not waste your energy. Give them silence. Instead of fighting back, let them argue with the air. Walk away. Let them stew in their own frustration. Because in the end, the loudest person in the room is not the strongest. The person who does not need to engage is. There is a quote that says, "You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to." Read that again. Some people will try to provoke you just to feel powerful. Some arguments are designed to drain your energy. And some battles are not about winning. They are about keeping you trapped in a cycle of negativity. So the next time someone is looking for a fight, remember this. True power is not proving them wrong. It is proving that their words do not even matter to you. So there you have it. Times when keeping your mouth shut is the smartest thing you can do. Some of these moments are obvious, some are controversial, and some, let's be honest, are straight up hard to follow. Because as much as we like to think we are in control, our words can get us into trouble more than we realize. But here is the key takeaway. Silence is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is strategy. Silence protects your energy. Silence keeps you from unnecessary conflict. Silence forces people to sit with their own thoughts instead of reacting to yours. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Now, before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. What is one situation where you wish you had stayed silent instead of speaking? Or better yet, a time when keeping quiet saved you from a disaster? Drop your stories in the comments. I read them all. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more brutally honest takes on life, people, and the art of picking your battles. Until next time, stay smart, stay silent, and most importantly, know when to speak and when to let silence do the talking.